Hey everybody, Gene Jackson here. And before we get going on this brand new episode, let me tell you a little bit about a couple of folks who are responsible for helping make this happen. First off, EPW Wrestling. EPWWrestlingMS.com is where you can find them. One of the top independent wrestling promotions in the country today. And I'm lucky enough to be the play-by-play announcer there. Every week you can catch EPW brand new episodes every Saturday at 11 a.m. on YouTube, or you can find them. Look at this map here. If you're watching the video, you can see here Gulf Coast Sports Network, Peachtree Sports Network, My 8 out of Alabama, My Mississippi, WCHQ 8 in Cleveland, Mississippi, WEBU 22 out of Water Valley, Oxford, and Batesville. They're covering pretty much the whole Southeast here, just about. So you can look them up, see where they come on in your local area, or every Saturday they drop on YouTube at 11 a.m. Central, and you can follow the show there. But make sure you check it out. Like I say, top-notch wrestling. I'm proud to be a part of it, and I hope you'll check it out. Also, we want to give a shout-out to our friends over at the Kayfabe Cave, Toys and Collectibles over in Pulaski, Tennessee, 110 South 1st Street to be exact, in Pulaski, Tennessee. They have so many great things over there. Just, they've got action figures, signed posters, signed pictures, championship belts, like anything you can think of related to pro wrestling memorabilia. They have it. And they also have these great meet and greets and signings. The next big one's coming up Saturday, July the 18th from noon to 2 p.m. You can meet Frank Morrell. You may remember him as the Mighty Yankee or the Spoiler, the Angel, or you may just know him as referee Frank Morrell there in Memphis. But this is going to be a very limited opportunity. They're only selling 25 tickets to this. This is Frank's 86th birthday celebration, so they don't want to overload him with a bunch of people. So, again, this is a very rare signing. So go over there, grab your tickets at kayfabecave.com and let them know that Gene from the Retro Wrestling Archive sent you. And also, don't forget, coming up Saturday, August the 15th from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m., the Russian Nightmare, Nikita Koloff, will be there live at the Kayfabe Cave. Get your tickets for that one as well. And before we go, I just want to mention, over at Amazon, you can still get it. Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert, the uncrowned king of professional wrestling. The story of Eddie Gilbert, as co-authored by myself and his brother, Dangerous Doug Gilbert. Special 30-year anniversary edition is up over on Amazon with some extra chapters from what was in the original print. You can get a hard copy or you can get a Kindle version. Either one, whichever you prefer. Also, while you're there on Amazon, check out A Tale of Two Wolves by myself and Wolfie D. It's the life story of Wolfie D, and what an interesting life he has led. We're both very proud of this book as well. Hope you check it out over at Amazon.com. All right. Well, that's enough on the front end here. Let's get right into what you came for. A brand new episode right here on the Retro Wrestling Archive Podcast Network. All right, we're back here on Retro Wrestling doing an interview that I've been wanting to do for quite some time now. Ever since I discovered this man's channel, I am joined by Kit Parsons from That's What I Call Wrestling. Kit, welcome to the show, man.
Thanks. I love what I love what you've done with the place. I love the lighting, all the neon. It's like you can see it's almost, it rivals the Pee-wee's Playhouse that I've placed myself in front of every week.
my wife watched some of the shows the other night, and she was like picking out in the background, like, is that a picture of Bernie from Weekend at Bernie's back there?
Yeah.
Has he got Tom Servo back there? I'm like, yeah, he's got Crow when he moves here in a minute too. So it's like, holy shit.
Yeah, that, I mean, some of this stuff was stuff I already had. And then as I set up the studio, I was just like, I just started buying. You just start buying. It's an excuse to buy more junk, right?
Absolutely. Like, yeah, that's been a fun part because I've been going back like binge watching your shows and like start out with like a couple of items. Then as you move along, the room fills up more and more.
Yeah, it's funny. Like, I think that speaks to just like doing this stuff in general. Like, before we started, I know we were talking about your other podcasts and stuff. Well, one of them, right? And you start out with like, I don't know, let's see if this is any fun. I don't know. And then like cut to 3 years later and you have like arcade machines and lights and like t-shirts and stuff.
Yes. It snowballs quickly. It really does, man. Like, so, there's so much different stuff I could talk to you about. I may end up having to drag you back here more than once if you're willing, but I definitely want to have.
Well, let's see how this goes.
Yeah, you don't want to commit to the second date till we get through the first one. By the end of this thing, you're like, dude, I wish I didn't even do this one. I ain't doing another one. Because I want to have a whole ass conversation about Magnum CK. But before we get to that, because I've told a couple buddies, I'm like, I want to do a podcast. Like, I want to do an episode just about comedy and wrestling and how it relates and how, like, for instance, I got a podcast I do with Ray Russell, who runs the WrestleCopia podcast network. And we've been doing a review of Memphis from 1985. And I'm a huge Memphis guy. I'm like, I've kind of got genes like the Memphis podcast guy now. And so, I remember Memphis wrestling to be so great, but like, I've got a show on my network where we did reviewed every single week of 93. Now we're doing 91. We're almost all the way through that. And then me and Ray's been watching 85. And I'm like, God, I remember this shit to be a lot better. Dude, 85. I don't know if you've watched all of 85 in recent times, but holy shit, it is rough.
Yeah, I just did an episode that focused pretty heavily on late 85 and 86 on Boy Tony with Tony Falk.
Yes.
And well, it was funny because I was telling my wife, because I've had all these Memphis. I mean, that's my favorite of all time. I mean, right back there somewhere, I have an original Memphis. Was it the company that used to press their posters? I was down in Nashville and got one of they had one of them just in a bin, and I got Jimmy Hart to sign it on a show I was on. And anyway, I've always been a fan, so I've always had Memphis videos back tape trading days, even from my uncle and stuff. He was in wrestling, and I've had a hard drive of Memphis that's probably at least 20 or 25 years of just CWA, USWA, and Power Pro. And I've always just randomly put it on, and I was telling my wife, I was going through it. I was like, I want to do an episode on Boy Tony. I think I can squeeze that. I think I can squeeze that orange, get enough juice out for one episode. And it took me probably an extra day to write the episode, because as I was going through, I was like, wait a minute, what is this? Like, Tugboat was Big Bubba. And like, hold on. And then they gave him the belt. Like, wait a minute, he's got 2 belts now. Like, what spoilers, I guess, if you haven't watched it. But like, and then like, as I'm going through, I'm like taking notes, like side notes, like, okay, double back for whatever that was. And then I'm watching something. I'm like, wait, what are they doing? They got Tojo Yamamoto out here. There's a Japanese invasion happening. Like, what the hell is going on?
Virgil Apollo Creed.
Yes, I saw that too. I didn't even know that happened. He's coming in America, living in America, whatever it was. Yes. Coming in America is the adult version, I think, of Rocky IV. Living in America, and he's coming out and ripping that off completely. And I was like, I have ADHD, so I'm like, I gotta focus, man. Come on.
I mean, you could do a whole series just on all the crazy shit they did in Memphis. Like in 85, where we're at, we've got Boda the Witch Doctor as the Southern champion. He's like 4 foot tall. Like Bill Dundee towers over this guy. And
well, that's why he was the champion. So Dundee could strong arm someone and win one, right?
So Tom Renesto, like, I'll hear on podcasts like, Jerry Briscoe, and people are like, oh, Tom Renesto, one of the great minds of professional wrestling, one of the great bookers. Well, buddy, by 85, he was out of fucking ideas, because holy shit, 85, when Savage went to the WWF, it's been a shit show ever since.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
Yeah, and well, you even said starting in 93. Oh boy, like it's just a different flavor. Like, the thing about Memphis wrestling, to me, is when it's good, it's great. It's fantastic. It's unbelievably amazing and realistic and like, whatever. And then, but when it's bad, it's just like, it's the two polar opposites. When it's bad, it's the worst thing you've ever seen. And some of that stuff happens on the same episode.
That's the thing. You can look down a card and be like, whoa, that's amazing. God bless. What is that? And it's just like a roller coaster. And I'll tell you something I forgot. All the damn, like, they couldn't have a clean finish to save their lives. Like in 93, we would go through a card with 7 matches and 5 of them would be disqualifications and run-ins and, like, God, I dare y'all to do a finish just once. Just do a fucking finish.
I'm sure a combo of certain people at the top, too many cooks in the kitchen, and also, well, we got to sell Evansville, Bubby. We can't give it to him now. We can't do it on TV.
Yeah. We got to come back next week. Well, why don't you stagger some of this shit, not do it all in one night? And you always know when Lawler's taking over the book, because that's when the movie monsters and superheroes and all that silly shit.
All of a
14 matches on a Monday night.
There's a robot from space that's going to take the title now.
Tagar shows up and you're like, well, we know who's booking.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good point. And like, the funny part about that is like, as the pencil would float around all the time, you could always tell to some degree who had it, but the same thing would exist. You would have some amazing stuff, no matter who it was. There was something amazing on the card. Like I was just watching, I did a video, where they had, what's his name? The arrest. One of the things that, what's his name? got arrested on TV.
Billy Joe Travis.
Billy, thank you. Yeah. And in that same episode there's this, that's a real thing that happened, but there's a hyper realistic thing where they're beating, they're attacking Brian Christopher at his truck and all this stuff, and it looks so real and it's so well done. And then we smash back to fake Razor Ramon and fake Diesel are here from Connecticut, from New York, and the King Mabel's going to show up, and it's just the fakest, most awful segment you've ever seen.
Like, were y'all getting into this shit? Like, no, wait a minute. Well, let's bring you back to the USWA land here. To me, like, one of the most dramatic like examples of that is when they did the big Bash at the Beach thing where Hogan laid down and all that nonsense, and Russo cut the promo, but they were like, this is really happening right now. This wasn't really supposed to happen. This is really happening. This is real. This is reality right here. All right, we're going now to the graveyard for Sting versus Vampiro in a graveyard match.
Yeah. Now, but which also, like, if you watch it for a minute, like there's a sickness that happens, I guess, for lack of a better word, when you watch wrestling so much, because you start to accept certain things, right? Like if an outsider watched that, they'd be like, well, wait a minute. So I was watching a bunch of scripted fake wrestling, I guess. And then they say it's not, and then back to the fake. So like, why would I like, bye? Like, I'm going to turn the channel, right? Yeah. Like it's just, I was just watching, when I covered, Jerry Lawler apparently not wanting to do Eddie Gilbert's memorial show was the angle, right?
Yes.
And he brings up, Tommy Rich, you hid under the ring for my hair match, and you came out, 6 hours underneath the ring, and you came out and you cost me that. And Tommy grabs the mic, he's like, that was fake. This is real. And I was like, oh man, we're just like destroying the whole lore of like these great angles to like, again, try to get ratings on
I remember TV. Where I was at that day that promo happened. I was sitting in my dorm room in college, and I literally jumped up. I was like, what the fuck did he just say? Like, what? And that perplexed me for years. So like, I think me and Doug did one episode, and by like the second episode, this was before Tommy came aboard, I was like, hey man, I want to do an episode about that fucking promo y'all did where it's like, that was fake. I'm like, Lawler sit there and ran down every huge angle, the haircut angle, the parking lot angle, all that. And Tommy proceeds to say, that was fake, man. That was fake. I'm like, what's the plan there, dude? Like when there's people like, y'all talk about there was 10 million people in Memphis watching this or whatever. When you slap them in the face with everything you've believed in the last 30 years was all bullshit. Yeah. But now this match Monday night is about to get real. I'm like, what's the justification that, not to mention the rest of that angle you're talking about after Tommy says that was fake, blah, 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 they give him the fakest looking fucking spike pile driver on the damn floor of the studio. Like, if I thought for 1 minute that anything had gotten sideways and gotten real, that shot, because they started hitting him with work punches and they give him a pile driver. And then he's back out there in the next segment with fucking Tex Slazenger for the big tag team match. Yeah. Yeah,
Jared Lawler had to go back to get the fireworks that he's selling for the next segment for the sponsor. He's got to run down the bottle rockets or whatever.
Dude, that was always a favorite part of mine in Memphis too. Is like, it really didn't work on either end, but he would come out and be like, Doug Gilbert, Tommy Rich, y'all pile drove me on the floor, and I just hope that I'm going to be at 3:00 today in Jonesboro. Lawler's Army is going to be playing softball against Brian Christopher's team, and we're going to kick their butts down there. And also, I'll be at Joe and Bob's video store just down the road from 1 to 2. But Monday night, Doug Gilbert, Tommy Rich is going to be real serious. Like, he would always blend in the fucking softball plugs and the damn appearances and shit. And he would do it in one promo. I always wanted to picture Dusty doing that, you know, if he could have done that on PBS.
The hard times for Dusty Rhodes and his family. 30 years. If you go down to Warner Toyota and you tell them Dusty sent you, baby, they'll hook you up with a nice vehicle. But turn 30 years. It's like right back to it. Like
one of the funniest things I ever heard, whoever that dude was that was on the radio that was prank calling people as Dusty, and he was like, is Rick there? Is Rick there, please? And then when he would go to promo time, fucking Common Man would start playing in the background. That pops me every time. But
well, anyway. It does. I mean, like, you're not supposed to think about it. I mean, I don't mean that like you know, wrestling is like a stupid art form. I have a lot of respect for wrestling, believe it or not. And I think it's a beautiful art form when it's happening that way, but you're just not supposed to think about it that much. I mean, like, it's like, I really feel like none of these guys were thinking about, hey, in 20 or 30 years, there's going to be some guys with more gray in their beard than they'd like talking about this and watching the video. Like, you know, it was just like, it was week to week. I mean, it was just broadcast out there. And it was just like, how do you survive to get to the next week and not, you know, lose a sponsor or have a bad house or whatever the case was. So it was just like, sometimes that led to some questionable decisions that just ruined everything.
Because I mean, we all, like, all of us as wrestling fans have all had this quiet agreement, like, all right, we know. Don't beat us over the head with it, but we know. But then when they would do shit like that, we're like, that was fake. I was just like, okay, it's one thing for Vince Russo to do it, and some of the guys that had been doing that kind of shit at the time, like, all right, you're from New York, you think you're smarter than all this, but like, for hear that come out of Tommy Rich's mouth to this day, that's still like just, I don't know, blows my mind. But
and it was weird because if you watch it, and I have the benefit of just you obviously have like a flashbulb memory. You remember where you was like the Kennedy assassination. Like, you remember what you were wearing, but like,
I don't remember that. The important shit like Tommy Rich shooting in promo.
9/11. Can't remember where I was, but when Tommy said it was fake, but you know, I watched it recently, and one thing that stuck out to me is like, Tommy's doing that, but Jerry is almost like plowing through it. Like, what are you like? Come on, man. Like, like what? I'm trying to build an angle here. And you're like, wow, that's all fake. Like, he's trying to show the history of this hot angle that we're trying to have.
And it's like he wasn't picking up on it because Lawler's like, okay, well, what about, because he says the haircut thing and Tommy dumps on that. And then he's like, well, what about in the parking lot when they run over from the car? That was fake. You know, God damn it, Tommy, what are you doing? But yeah, clearly, whatever they had in mind that was going to, you know, try to make this real, it felt like Lawler wasn't in on it because Lawler seemed to be just bumfuzzled. Each thing he shot down, you know, he's just like, oh, what about this? And I'm like, I'm in the dorm room going, Lawler, quit throwing out angles. You're killing every angle that ever happened in Memphis, you know? What about when y'all ran my nuts in the post? You need a vasectomy, boy. That wasn't real.
You broke your leg playing softball. That wasn't real.
Jerry Calhoun broke your leg playing freaking touch football. How do you break it playing touch football? Let's see. But I got sidetracked. Where I was going with that is like, so me and Ray we'll make fun of the silly shit that's going on. Well, he's had these people messaging him and putting it in the comments on YouTube, like, y'all are supposed to be wrestling historians. You're not being respectful of the business, and you're, making a joke of this. It's like, first of all, I'm not one of these self-appointed wrestling historians. I've never uttered those fucking words in my life, so don't put that on me, Ricky Bobby. But also, like, I like to say I treat wrestling accordingly. Like, if something that is important or deserves respect, we talk about respect. It's silly shit like that. We're supposed to sit around and act like, oh, Bo to the Witch Doctor, boy, this is rich history right here. Let's give him his props, fine time in Memphis wrestling right here. Wish we could get back to those days type shit. Like, I just don't understand. I don't understand people who think it should be serious all the time and probably get mad at shows like yours and the stuff that I do and think, oh, it's disrespectful to the business. Like, well, look at what we were talking about.
Yeah, we actually, there was a whole section of a documentary we made a few years ago where we talked about this, and I was someone I've worked with RJ City quite a bit, and we don't ever talk about wrestling, but we always send each other like Jerry Lewis freaking out clips or something like that. But he talked about it, and one thing that he said was wrestling is inherently hilarious. Like, you stomp when you punch, like, come on, man, lighten up. And I agree with you. And I don't encounter that every week, but it does happen. I mean, I have a series about this Chilean wrestling from 1981, 82, Titans of the Ring, Titanes del Ring, and it's awful. I mean, it was like state-run, dictator-led Chile, like state-run media that was like the bread and circuses were, Sancho Panza and a mummy, who have never been trained, falling on getting concussions and stuff in a boxing ring with ropes that are as loose as the velvet ropes at the movie theater. It's just like, it's a nightmare. And once in a while, people hop in and be like, I grew up watching this and you're disrespecting. It's like, listen, like, unless it's mean spirited, like I can understand if you're a show that's just like, man, this is all garbage. But like, I would argue, and I don't argue with people in the comments because what's the point? Yeah. We all look bad if we do that. But I would argue I love this more than you do because first of all, I've spent like 8 hours watching this like 4 times. Like, are you out of your mind? Like, I love this more than any of you because I'm obsessed with it.
Right, and you're making more people aware of it than were before you put that out, because I had never seen that until your show. And now I'm like, how the fuck did that get away from me? Like,
well, and there's no end to it. I mean, that's one thing I could probably do the show as long as I wanted, just because there's so much footage out there from all the different corners of the world. And I don't know. I think it would be dishonest to pretend, oh man, there's this legendary, awesome wrestling where a mummy faces a pharaoh and no one knows what to do because they apparently didn't talk about this before they went on TV and they just stand around. Like, what am I supposed to talk about? Like, just lie to you about it? Like, I think that one thing, and from being in a wrestling business, I've only been contacted by a couple of handfuls of wrestlers. Some of them either maybe I knew before, maybe I have never met, who have found the show or had it sent to them. And almost all of them have been pretty good natured about it, because like, that's kind of how it is in wrestling. Like, if you have it's like stand-up comedy. Like, if you go bomb a set, if you go have a bad match, man, the real heat's going to be backstage, because you're going to get made fun of the rest of the night for like whatever awful thing you shit the bed in the ring. And now it's like, oh great, this is what we're going to talk about for the next 6 months. Awesome. Can't wait.
Exactly. But I've never understood that attitude of like, hey, wrestling should be treated with this, And to me, like, what wrestling is, and even what wrestling professes itself to be, is fun. It's I don't know. I don't understand why the people who act like that, it's no, you can't. It's a very serious thing. Like, just think about what you just said: a mummy and a pharaoh, and I'm like, you couldn't. If you try to describe that without laughing, you couldn't to someone who didn't know anybody. Like, all right, let me tell you about this. You need to see this. As soon as you start talking, like, what are you talking? Like, what is this real life? Is this a cartoon you're talking about? Like, no, this was somewhat real. ish.
Yeah, and there are plenty, right? Yeah, certain parts of it were not supposed to be, but were very real. Certain maneuvers became very real very quickly. And I think there's a lot of people out there doing history and covering that, and I think that's fantastic. And I'm a fan of that. There's a rich history to wrestling, but I think there's also some fun in looking at some of the less favorable times, and I think it's all comes down to intention. I think if you're trying to grandstand or prove some weird point or be self-righteous about it or be overly mean, that's one thing. Like, I've scrapped parts of episodes where I'm like, okay, like, you're just being mean now, but come on, like like that's not the spirit of the show. Like, maybe I'm having a bad day and I'm like, this is trash, it's like, well, take it easy, that's not fun. And I think with the show that I do, same as when I was wrestling, the whole goal is just to have fun. And sometimes that's at my expense, and sometimes that's at somebody else's.
Yeah. I mean, wrestling is, people get mad, like the old school guys, like, I'll call it entertainment. Well, that's what it's always been, but more so now than ever. But a lot of those guys I find are happy with this newfound, I guess you can't say fame, but attention that things like this brings to them, because there's a whole new group of people who've never known what it was, who know who they are, and they appreciate it because it's entertaining. Maybe it wasn't great wrestling, but it's a lot of fun to wait for your show to come out and see, what you're covering. And did you ever watch any of the $5 wrestling like High Spots was doing, like Jake Manning and all that?
Yeah. So I've been on a lot of shows with Jake over the years. And I know Colt, and actually I know all of them. I know Marty too. I probably know Marty and Colt the best. But I was watching that. It was through High Spots. I think it was $5 to watch. And I have an interesting kind of relationship with that, I think, because I remember at the time when that stuff came out, I couldn't get enough of it, and I happened to see something, I think it was Freight Train, and I was watching a video of Freight Train and I was like, okay, there was a part of me that was like, I don't know what his exact mental faculties are, and like, but I think that there are so many people that bought Freight Train autographs and I don't know if he's on Cameo, but he should be, right? So many people were exposed to him. Like, he got to live a dream that he wouldn't have had otherwise if we weren't kind of elbowing each other, being like, oh God, I hope he's okay. We'll let him do a power bomb.
So I got to be a big fan of that. And me and my wife I was living up in Kentucky at the time for a job, and we were getting the DVDs and watching them. And when we moved back to Alabama, I was like, I want to get involved in that. I don't know. So I was like, all right, well, I don't want to be Gene Jackson on that, because I do like legitimate shows under that persona and do these podcasts and shit. So I created this whole character who was based on like old Memphis. He was called Megastar, because what's bigger than Superstar Bill and T? Megastar Memphis Monroe. And a mask and a bodysuit and the whole bit. And I was like, I'm bringing back every goddamn loaded boot, the Asian spike, the heart punch, all this shit nobody's done in a million years. And started doing some shows around here. And I got to know a promoter here in Alabama who was booking them on some shows. Oh, wow. And so went to a show and I met Big Donnie and Little Donnie and Freight Train and all these guys. And I got to do a couple shows. I've got like me and Big Donnie wrestled Freight Train and this guy called Red Solo Cup from Alabama. I don't know if you've ever seen him, but he fits right in. We'll just say that. I got to do that tag match, and I got to be friends with Freight Train. And it got to the point where just randomly during the week, my phone would ring and I'd look and say Freight Train, like, hello. Hey, Gene Jackson, what are you doing? Like, not much, Freight Train. What are you doing? I'm watching wrestling or whatever he's doing. And we talked a little bit. And so him and Jake got to doing some shows where he was kind of letting Freight Train somewhat book them, for lack of a better word. So I get a call like, hey, Gene, would you like for Memphis Monroe to challenge me for my $5 heavyweight title? I'm like, yes, sir. I would love nothing more than that. So I got booked to
they
come to
say
Charlotte and do that.
success is when preparation and opportunity meet. And when Freight Train calls, you need to answer the call.
You're like, well, I either want Vince or Freight Train to call, and Freight Train, he called first. That's where I'm going. But so we set up. He cut a promo on me that went like 8 minutes. Jake sends it to me. He's like, "Hey man, do a promo responding to this." And a buddy of mine, Neil Taylor, who runs EPW Wrestling now, but we used to tag together way back in the day. I called him. I was like, "Hey man, you told me if I ever went to Charlotte for this $5 stuff, you'd like to get with me." I said, "What if I could get you like, have you manage me or something?"
Oh,
and he's like, "Oh my God, dude, that would be hilarious." He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "I got to come up with a gimmick." I was like, "Yeah, we'll come up with something." And during Freight Train's promo on me, when he started talking about the South, somewhere in the midst of it, Dutch Mantell comes up. I guess because I'm Memphis Monroe, and he started bitching about Memphis, and then he got to Dutch Man. Because I learned later that somebody took him to a TNA show when Dutch was there looking, and he met Dutch, and Dutch didn't react well or whatever. He didn't have a good experience with Dutch, so fuck Dutch Mantell for the rest of his life. So I heard that promo, and I called Neil. I was like, "Hey, we need to find you one of them khaki colored vests like Dutch wore in the WWF." And so I mentioned in my promo back, I was like, "I'm bringing Dutch Mantell's nephew, Nasty Ned Mantell, is going to be in my corner, Freight Train. And you just wait. He heard what you've been saying about his uncle, and he's not too happy. And Dutch is the one sending both of us up there to get you." Freight Train sees this. He calls Jake on the phone like, "We got to cut another promo. This fucking man." So he cuts an even longer promo after that. So we get to go up there.
My God.
I get to be in the main event of a $5 show, challenging for the title, and lose to Freight Train. And my buddy was there with me, and my wife was in the crowd. And that was like the peak of my wrestling career, if you want to call it that. I did a lot of managing, a lot of low-level wrestling, but that was the high point for me. But there's a lot of people who knocked it and was like, "Oh, they're taking advantage of those guys and all this." But dude, man, him and Jeff Hart, all them guys, I knew all them. And man, in their mind, it might as well have been WrestleMania. None of them got physically hurt. And Jake always made sure that it was clear that everybody's laughing with them, not at them. I think he did a real good job with that. But
he's a good guy. I think,
if you turned it on with no context, okay, I could see where you could see, think, But,
and I think, not to make light of other people in wrestling, but I've been in a lot of wrestling locker rooms, and the $5 guys are all over the place. Like those, you know what I'm saying? Like those types of guys, and even at that level, like there's plenty of legitimate wrestling shows, whatever that means, that those guys are back there, and I probably lost to a lot of them. So it's not a big difference.
And none of them were over like Freight Train. So there you go.
Got the W, that's a win.
But that guy here in Alabama got to a point, he was booking these shows, and it was the weirdest thing. He called it $10 wrestling.
Oh,
I guess that's $5 better. I don't know.
It's premium.
But he would book, so like he'd book the Armstrong. We're in Alabama, so he'd book like the Armstrongs against like Jimmy Golden and somebody from that era, Jimmy Golden and Mike Jackson or whatever. And then he would have he mostly had promoted up till then and promoted deathmatch shows. So he'd have like an old school match with like the Armstrongs or Tom Pritchard or somebody. Then he'd have like a death match, and then he'd have like a bunch of these $5 guys, and then local versions of $5 guys, if you get what I'm saying there. And then he paid me and there's a stand-up comedian out of Birmingham who had been a like traveling comedian. His name's Tim Statham, and he hired us to be his Colt and Marty, as he put it. He's like, "But I want y'all to be like vulgar and all this," and like, man, all right. Dude, that guy paid me more money than I ever made to wrestle, to sit there and make fun of his show. And at the end of the first one, he liked it. He's like, "Man, it was really funny, but you need to really go at some of these people." And so there were a couple of people on the show who weren't of the $5 variety that thought they were more than they were. And I really buried a couple of them on there good, and they like quit the show. Just like there was like 4 people quit after the first show just because they heard the DVD like 4 months later and quit because of the commentary.
You didn't get any threats from anybody or anything? Have any heat with anybody?
Not that anybody that made good on it. Oh, I got messages back to me like, when so-and-so sees you, he's going to whoop your ass. I'm like,
yeah,
well,
heard that before.
We'll see.
The best part about that whole situation is realistically, there has been a situation where at least once someone has said the sentence, careful now, freight train has heat with Mantel. that's been spoken earnestly.
Absolutely. I forget who told me. Somebody told me one time, like, man, some of these $5 shows are getting like passed around like WWE locker rooms. Like I've sat there and watched a $5 match with like John Cena before, and I'm like, well, I hope it was the Memphis Monroe match. That would be fun to think that was a thing. But so let's talk a little bit about like, so you've wrestled, and there was elements of comedy in your wrestling character for sure. But now you've been to, Second City, you've got a film background. So tell me a little bit about your legitimate, training in comedy, if that's the way to say that. I don't know, maybe saying that wrong.
Yeah, it's funny. It is kind of all related. So I started wrestling right as soon as I turned 18. I started training. I always wanted to be a wrestler, and comedy wrestling. It wasn't something I was really considering. I was taking myself very seriously, and then I realized about 3-4 months in that I was adding in spots every once in a while that was just like egg on my face type stuff. It was always the joke was always on me, and I just slowly started realizing over time that's kind of my deal. It's like, I would build myself up as this big heel, and then I'd trip on the ropes, or whatever it was. And I think there's something inherently hilarious about a bad guy wrestler, especially one that maybe doesn't completely realize that he's a bad guy wrestler. Like, it's just like, why are you guys? I don't understand why you all don't love me. I just think there's something funny about that. And I think just personally, I think there's a certain protection that there is in being a heel, because I think it's much easier, and maybe it's not for everybody, but I think it's much easier to get people to boo you than it is to be a baby face and get them to cheer you and not get it. It's like shit. like that's much more, that feeds much more into your insecurity if you're a baby face. So I think that's one reason I always gravitated toward heel. But like, I did a bunch of theater, like on the stage and stuff. And I remember I'd taken a bit of a break from wrestling. I had taken a couple years. So I was sporadically wrestling and doing a lot of commentary and stuff. I'd really gotten into theater, and I was, ADHD. So I'm always bouncing around to different stuff.
Right.
And, I remember coming back. It had been a little while since I had wrestling. I spent a bunch of years doing theater, a handful of years doing theater. And I was, in the ring, and I was like, oh my God, it's theater. Holy crap. And then it just all clicked. And it all felt as quickly as I took to wrestling, the fundamentals and everything, it always felt mysterious to me for some reason. I had it up on a pedestal. And once I realized it was theater, and I had done a bunch of theater, and I felt confident doing that, I was like, boom. And then that's when I started having more character. That's when I started making bolder choices. I started relaxing a lot more, and just doing that funny stuff. So the thing about comedy wrestling to me is, I think a few things. For one, it depends on who the joke is on, right? And I think the joke should never be on the fans, right? They've paid money to be here. The joke should never be on them. The joke's on, it's on us. We're not trying to screw anyone over. But I think comedy wrestling works when the art of the wrestling, as such as it is taken seriously, right? Like, I've always really loved Colt Cabana because he's a really good wrestler. And like, you can tell, like, he's good at wrestling, and he can do all this goofy stuff, but he can throw a drop kick, and he can take a bump, and he can do a crossbody. So I think as long as you keep all that stuff, I've never understood why some of the older guys would be so down on comedy wrestling, when it's like, I think that there's room in the circus tent for everybody. And I think as long as we're respecting the fans enough to take the wrestling part of it seriously, then who cares? Like, what's the difference?
And know the audience. I mean, I know there's certain crowds that works more for than others. There, you know, I mean, places down here in the South, sometimes you can go far enough, deep enough in the woods where it's still the 80s some places, and you still got to kind of, you know, they're here to see somebody get killed. But I mean, I don't know. I think stuff's fun, like the spot you did with Hornswoggle, you know, where he's, you know, and he stops and you're still selling it. You know,
Yeah, right,
like
yeah,
I love
yeah.
that. But I know old guys who would just absolutely lose their mind over that. And it's like, but listen to that crowd. It got over.
Yeah.
They know what they're watching. It didn't kill it for. There's not one person went like, well, wait a minute. He wasn't really hurting him. Like, come on. You know?
I think just the fact that they would put 6'4" at that time, about probably 235 pounds, against Hornswoggle, like, we know something, like, what athletic commission would allow this to take place? Like, something might not be on the level here. But I think so. We were doing a test of strength, and I had my eyes closed and I was all into it, and then he let go, but I was still selling like he had me. And I remember, from what I remember, that part was his idea. And, you know, what am I going to tell Hornswoggle? No, I love the guy. And first of all, like, he's a much bigger star than I'll ever be. So I'm like, yeah, whatever you want, sir. But I'd known him for a while, and we were on, you know, friendly terms and everything. And I remember that night when he pitched that, I was like, oh yeah. And then, can you body slam me like WrestleMania? Can we do the Hogan Andre, you know? And he's like, that's why you're my favorite. He's like, because not only do you want to do the dumb thing, but you had another dumb idea that works with it.
You doubled down, sir. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that's what I remember. What's funny is, like, you know, I've seen 1,000 indie guys in the last 15 years, but like, that's why when I saw you on the show, I was like, he looks familiar. That's why your character always stood out to me, because anytime I would see your match listed on a DVD, it's like, oh, I want to see this guy. This shit's always fun. Like, there's always something in there I hadn't seen. Just the entrance alone, you know.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's just so stupid, right? I mean, it's just like, just, I love playing characters who are wrong, like, just obliviously wrong, like adamantly wrong, and just people who get really upset. Like, I think someone being very upset is so funny. And so just a big pompous character and nothing's going the way that they want, and they're getting really mad about it, is hilarious to me. And you know, I think I appreciate you saying all that, and I think it does, a lot of that does come from, you know, your intention, right? Like, it's fun. Yeah. Fun number is number one. I mean, we're going to try to respect this business as much as we can. We're going to push it, but we want to have fun. But also, I finally got brave enough as like a performer or whatever to push against what I was surrounded by. So like, when I got booked in Cleveland at AIW, I was really nervous, because what I knew of AIW was it's a pretty smash mouth, hard-nosed, attitude era type style. I mean, you know, Nick Gage was their champion at the time, and I was like, right. Like, you know, and they had Johnny Gargano had just left. You know, I had known him from kind of briefly when we came up together around the same time and stuff. And like, I don't know, I was like, I don't know why I'm booked here. I didn't say that to anyone, but I was like, I don't understand. And I remember I debuted as a run-in and just did a spine buster and left or whatever. And so I had about 6 more weeks to think about it, because I had my match, you know, and I was like, what do I do? Like, do I try to adapt and be what they already do? And I somehow got brave enough to be like, I'm going to be the old school guy. Like, I'm going to do the Indian Deathlock. I'm doing a figure 4 on the post. Like, my finisher is an effing spine buster. Like, come on. Like, you know, like, and I remember doubling down on that in that first match. And when I put the Indian Deathlock on the guy, the crowd started chanting old school wrestling. And I was like, okay, all right. Yeah. And that just gave me more confidence. And I just went further that direction of like trying to be not only what's best for me, and what I know, but also looking around at the card and being like, okay, no one's wearing a big glittery gold cape. I'm going to buy a big glittery gold cape. Everyone's shaving their chest. Okay. Mine's growing out, you know, like I would always try to be different in some way. And that takes a lot of figuring out to get to that point. You have a lot of trial and error to trust yourself to be like, okay, I think I can handle this if I push against the grain and not just get unbooked.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll return after these messages. Always wanted to be in the professional wrestling business? The EPW Wrestling Academy is now enrolling. Visit epwwrestlingms.com for all the details on how to make your dreams a reality. Do you have what it takes?
Hey everybody, I'm Gene Jackson, and I want to introduce you to the Retro Wrestling Archive Podcast Network and the great pro wrestling nostalgia podcast we bring, including the Retro Wrestling Review Series covering the USWA, Memphis Power Pro Wrestling, Continental Championship Wrestling, and we've just added World Class Championship Wrestling, and now ECW. Plus great interview shows like Beyond Wrestling with Rob Hell, where the stories go beyond the ring. Then there's Dangerous Conversations with the legendary Dangerous Doug Gilbert and Tommy Wildfire Rich. Plus, don't miss special live streams like Live from the Archive and Arc of an Angle. And the Retro Wrestling Archive Network is growing. We're proud to feature the affiliate shows like STS Pod, The Hang, Classic Pro Wrestling Talk, Get Your Bell Rung, and even more great shows are coming soon. That's not all. Join the Retro Wrestling Archive Patreon for exclusive bonus content, early podcast releases, special extras, and access to a Google Drive that is absolutely busting at the seams with territory wrestling history, including our legendary Memphis Mega Folder. Podcast, interviews, watch-alongs, live streams, YouTube, Patreon, territory wrestling history. It's all waiting for you at RetroWrestlingArchive.club, where we're preserving pro wrestling history daily. Don't just remember it, relive it. Yeah, I remember thinking that when I'd watch your matches, it was like, man, he's standing, because like my whole theme is retro wrestling, and I love old wrestling, so I was drawn to that when I'd see your matches, and I thought, man, that's freaking genius that to go be a throwback to old wrestling is now makes him stand, because like, okay, your other option, what the other people are fighting to do is like, well, I got to jump off a higher place, or I got to turn one more flip than the other guy. And you're like, I'm not doing none of that shit.
Or be good at like chain wrestling. I remember doing a bar show one time, and I can't remember what match it was, but the guy was working. He's like, I'm really bad at chain wrestling. I was like, oh, me too. He's like, I really want to like, can we try to do a little chain sequence? And I was like, buddy, I don't know if this is the venue, but sure, who cares? Whatever. They're all drunk. They're not going to remember. Who cares? And we got about halfway through the sequence, and I was like, what do you think? And he's like, fuck it, let's just fight. I'm like, yeah, it's not going well. So we just started brawling around. I was like, it's not my forte, buddy.
But yeah, that was what I really enjoyed watching Magnum's Opus, because you said everything that I had assumed, and I'm like, oh, that's exactly what he was doing. He looked around at the the landscape and was like, hell, I can do old school wrestling and nobody else is doing it. I'll stand out by not doing all the shit they're all trying to kill each other doing. And then the irony of, you're the guy who's not jumping off a ladder through 3 tables on fire, and then you end up with an injury, that takes you out of the ring. And it's just like,
it's just always some weird thing. Yeah, it's always the weird thing. You just never know. And it was just a random thing. I mean, that's like, you've seen that clip from back in the day of like Triple H tearing his quadricep. He's just like taking a step forward. Like, it's crazy how that stuff can happen.
Yeah, it's rarely those wild bumps where that stuff happens. It's usually something really just mundane that people have done 1,000 times, and that's what takes them out. But
yeah, and I think just like presenting it all like it was never presented like, hey guys, I'm the old timey wrestler. It was always like, I came out like everybody else, and to my song and everything, and just like presented like a modern wrestler, but like just did a bunch of moves that most of those fans had never seen before, or probably even more memorably, I think, didn't do a bunch of moves. I just like, hey, I don't have any moves that I want to do in this match, but I have a bit. Can we do that? What do you think about this? And it was like, oh yeah, we're gonna do that. It's like a little story.
So like when you went to Second City, I mean, I figured that probably helped you with wrestling more than anything, because wrestling, it's like you said, it's theater, but it's also improv. Like, in a perfect world, I know it's less improv now than it was in the past, because everybody kind of lays everything out. But how helpful was all the improv training you had for wrestling?
Very helpful, you know, because when I originally lived in Chicago, I went to Second City and I was terrible. And I quit. I mean, I went for a handful of months and I was so bad at it because I just didn't understand it. And then it was around the pandemic, you know, you had a lot of time in your hands of sitting around, and I had a couple of adult beverages in my living room, and I was telling my wife that I was, you know, getting a little loose, I guess. And I was just like, man, I really regret giving up on that. I wish I would have tried. She's like, well, you know, go try. As soon as they open up, just go. So I spent about 2 years driving back and forth to Chicago every Saturday, every weekend. And I did their improv program, and then I auditioned for their conservatory and completed that whole process too. And it was crazy. I mean, it was like I've never felt more vulnerable, you know, because it's all improv, you know, and then you get into sketch. That's how they write. You do improv scenes, and then that's how you write your sketches as you get further on. Like when I got to the conservatory, and we had a show. We were up on their stage, you know. I mean, it was, you know, to the paying audience, you know. I mean, it was just strangers coming in to watch. All they knew is they were coming to Second City. They didn't know that, you know, who you were, and so I think it's more about. For me, as someone with a lot of anxiety and stuff like that, it helped with a lot because it was like, I don't know what's going to happen, and I just have to be okay with it and trust that I can handle it. And it helped a lot with wrestling because I remember, you know, because I had my big injury, and then that's when I went back to Second City after a while. And then I had a little time period where I went back and did a little bit more wrestling. I didn't do anything that would, you know, compromise I was healed and everything, but I did want to re-injure myself. So it was definitely different. But I planned out way less stuff. I mean, I was just like, we got this, it's fine. And then like I would calling audibles, where it's like, hey, the crowd's not, just like the old school guys always talk. It's like they're not buying this. Why don't you try this? Okay, that's working. Let's do more of that. Hey, now do this. You know. And so it gives you a weird confidence. And there's like a quote they have on the wall at the Second City School from Bill Murray that says, I believe if you go through Second City training, you can do anything. And like, I felt it. Yeah. The world has felt like a lot less scary.
That's very cool. Yeah. To have been a part of anything that Bill Murray came out of is got to be.
Well, it's terrifying. Like, you know, even toward the end, you know, you spend the last couple of months, you're doing your big show you've been working on. You do performances throughout the whole thing, but it's an intensive course. But you do a couple months of your show, and I would drive in and a couple hours before the show, just like a wrestling show, and I would get handed a stack. It was like, hey, they changed everything. Like, wait, what? Like, we're not doing the same show as last week. No, they changed this sketch. You know, you're not in this one anymore. You're in this one. You got a song now on that one, and also the lines are different. Here you go. Take a look. I'm like, it's like 45 minutes from now. Like, okay. Oh my God.
I have to imagine that when you get through that on the other side, you're like, yeah, I can do anything. I got that sprung on me, and I made it happen. That's
well. It also lets you know that people don't know what the hell's going on, right? So, like,
yeah,
I can mess up a sketch completely, but if none of us sold it and we just got through it, they don't know. Maybe they thought like that was kind of weird, or like, oh, that was funny, or maybe we found something funnier. But that happens in wrestling. I know Cornette used to yell about some match from OVW where like Chris Masters got hurt for real, and everyone was like, oh God. And they all sold it. And it was like, well, now we know that all this other shit is fake. Like,
right.
The guy got hurt. The guy, your whole goal was to hurt this guy. And then you did. And you're like, oh shit. What do we do? It's like, pin him. I don't know. Like,
it's so true though. It's so true. Like in theory, everything you're doing is supposed to be to hurt somebody. And then when somebody does get hurt, everybody's like,
oh shit.
Oh.
I point that out on my show all the time. Like when someone will get hit for real, like these old, like some of these less trained guys or whatever, like it happens to everybody, but you can always tell when something hurts for real because they're not selling, right? It's just like they hit and they're just like, oh, they're just laying there. They do like the Bret Hart kind of more realistic sell. And it's like, yeah, that hurt. That really hurt. Cause they're not, they're just like, oh my God. Like my feet are tingling.
Oh man, like so the World Wrestling Empire, that's been a lot of. So how were these just things that you've come across in tape trading over the years that you thought back on, like, hey, I remember something that lends itself to comedy?
So there was the guy who originally posted the Jumpin' Jeff Farmer video. It was back when, I don't know, I don't have like a Twitter or anything, but like I used to back in the day, and I connected with him. We were making a documentary and we wanted to use a couple of clips that he'd found as like examples of whatever. And he was just like, he had this one interview of this guy named Michael the Rock Johnson. And the interviewer just starts out and he's just like, hey, Michael, I heard you want to tell me something about moon salt, which is not a question and barely, I don't think it's a statement either. I don't know what it's a collection of, it's like a bad Scrabble hand of words. And it goes over to Michael the Rock, who is like buggy whip arms, to borrow Jim Cornette's phrase, right? He's got like a belly and he's got his sunglasses on, probably because he would not be able to pass a field sobriety test, and bandana. And Mike goes over to him. He goes, yeah, moon salt. And that's just all we put in the movie. And like when we did the premiere of the movie, that was like the biggest laugh of the entire night, was this guy saying, yeah, moon salt. And we're talking to the dude and he's like, hey, I found more footage. And I happened to look around a little more and I found like 40 or 50 episodes of it. And I just was fascinated. And before I started doing my YouTube show, I used to just watch them. I just put them on and just be like, oh my God, like this is so fun. I love it, because it's what my show is all about, which is, I think, genuine effort. They're trying. Yeah. Right. They're trying so hard and but they just like, it's not working. Right. It's just not clicking. They really are trying to put on a good wrestling show in a bar in Tulsa, and they're giving it all they've got. But what they've got is just a little short of what we would consider decent.
Yeah. That's a key element you just mentioned right there to me, that what makes it fun is because during that, so when the $5 wrestling craze kind of happened there for a few years, you had people going out and trying to do bad wrestling on purpose, which isn't fun, because like there's enough bad wrestling that exists. You don't need to make it bad on purpose. And when you can watch that and know, like, no, they genuinely are doing their best. They think this is good. They're proud that people are going to watch this, you know. God, I mean, some of that stuff from Tennessee, like that other Southeastern, you know, like, good Lord.
And that's why, like, I struggled with it a little bit. So, you know, I started doing a YouTube show about it. I started with the World Wrestling Empire almost exclusively. I did just that for like 6 months. And I think on the second episode, I can't remember if it made it into the episode or not. But I think I back then now I don't bother with it, but I used to play it for my wife and insecure, you know, I don't know, this is all new. I'm like, what do you think? You think this works? And I had a whole segment that I have very least trimmed down where I was talking about how I just felt bad for these guys. You know, I was just like, bless their little hearts. Like, this is their dream and they're just trying. And I almost felt bad for kind of laughing about it, you know? Yeah. And then she was like, cut that shit out. Nobody wants to hear that. She's like, you know, just come on, have some balls, you know, like that's fine. Like, yeah, like they know what they're doing. They're on TV. Like, it's fair game, you know, like that's fine. Yeah. But like, that's not entertaining. You kind of like making excuses for them being terrible. It's not fun. So that was like the last time I ever mentioned it.
Yeah, kudos to her for saying that, because it's true. Because even though like you're kind of covering your ass and being like, hey, that's, you know, but even then that kind of takes the fun out, because then you take them up and like, oh, am I laughing at somebody less fortunate or something? Like, should I not? Maybe I shouldn't laugh at this. This feels wrong now. So
you know, and I cut stuff out all the time. I mean, not necessarily for stuff like that, but like, you know, you watch Memphis. I mean, you would be hard pressed to find a Memphis wrestling episode that doesn't have some sort of thing that if you just played it out of context, they would, you know, you wouldn't be able to monetize your channel or something, or like, you know what I mean? Like, there's always something where it's like, ooh, sometimes I can't avoid it. And sometimes I want to show it because it's part of it. But almost every episode, I'm like, we're not going to go down that road. I'm good. I don't want to have to explain this. Like one time I forget what it was. It was something about there was one wrestler that had a Confederate flag, and it wasn't necessarily that he had a Confederate flag. It was something about the angle. I can't remember, but it felt very forced. And I was like, what are we doing? Like, what are you doing? Like what is this? So, and people can have their opinions about whatever, but someone in the comments just went nuts. He went nuts that I even commented on the fact that this guy, because I just thought the angle was stupid. And he said, well, what's next? What are you going to criticize next? The McDonald's flag? And so now I found a video of a McDonald's flag, and I took all the time to mask it. It was back when you didn't auto mask. I had to like frame by frame mask out this whipping, blowing in the wind McDonald's flag, and I slap it on top of every time just because fuck that guy. And I was like, what are you talking about? The McDonald's flag? I didn't even know that was a thing. So now I just put it on there all the time just to hopefully that guy still watches and he just gets pissed off.
That's hilarious because I am that guy all day long that will go out of my way to stick something like that up somebody's ass and then just continue to do it just because. And knowing that guy,
everyone else,
that guy may never watch it again,
like,
but
I'll never let it go. I'll never let it go.
Yeah, dude, there's so much fun stuff, like little comments, little jokes that are made here and there that I go, oh, I got that. And I think, I wonder how many people did, because some of it, some of it's little phrases that not everybody knows what they mean and different things like that. But the show is a lot
kind of a fine line. You have to trust your audience. I think, you can toss that stuff in and certain people are going to get it and certain people aren't. But I also I think it's important for wrestling. Like this is not for every wrestling channel, because some of the wrestling shows, like, I'm sure you have experience where it's like, this is just for wrestling fans. Like we're going to use language that they know and we're whatever. But like my goal has always been, I want someone to watch this and then their wife or their girlfriend to be like, oh, well, that's kind of funny. Like, hold on. Like, what is this guy talking about? I've always wanted to approach it from that angle, but you do, like, again, certain references and stuff. I'm not going to explain it. It's like, someone's going to get it or you're not. If you don't get it, move on. It's 2 seconds.
That's exactly what happened here, which my wife, I mean, I wouldn't say she's particularly a wrestling fan, but she likes it enough. And she'll go, she used to go with me to conventions and shit like that. And so she came in there one night and I was watching one of your shows and she's like, oh, what's this? And I was explaining to her the gist of it. And she was sitting there, watching, and she's like, "Oh, this is pretty funny." And like I said, then she started studying what was in the background on the wall and stuff like that. But after like 2 episodes, she's like, "Why is everybody's name Rex Steiner?" Or she didn't say it right. She's like Rex Steiner. I'm like, I don't even know if I'm going to try to explain that one to you. Let's let that be a mystery, okay?
So like, I don't remember. I don't think I ever said it on the show, but I was doing theater. And I was doing The Odd Couple. I was playing Felix in The Odd Couple several years ago. And I was, there's not a lot of wrestling fans that I've run across in theater, right? Yeah, and I was talking to the guy was he was in charge of the scenic department and he was building the set. And I was like, I've always gravitated on a film set or in theater, just the people working. I don't know why. Like if I'm on a film set, I'm always just like getting in trouble for talking to the grips because we just have a lot in. I don't know. I just always like that work. Like they're always like my kind of people. And we were just chatting, and all of a sudden he said something about wrestling, and I was like, okay, you like wrestling? Well, watch this. I just saw this clip today of, do you know the Steiner brothers? And he goes, oh yeah, the Rex Steiners? Yeah, the Rex Steiners. And I was like, okay. Well, sure. Scott Steiner. So I was like, well, now hold on. I was like, wait a minute. I have to ask, like, why do you call them like what? Yeah. What? I've never heard anyone call them the Rex Steiners. And like, long story short, too late. It was just like, he really wanted me to know how much he knew about wrestling. Yeah. So like my friends at the time, that became the joke of just like everyone's last name was Rex Steiner. It was either Rex Steiner or like I mentioned how when I was a kid, I got in a fight with my cousin because he swore that Roddy Piper's name was Rowdy Piper. It was just Rowdy twice. So everybody's last name was Rex Steiner or their name started with Rowdy. Like I remember we had Rowdy Edge. Did you hear Rowdy Edge came back? So like, this is stupid shit, just dumb. And so now I try to sneak in a Rex Steiner and sometimes people notice it, but sometimes people are like, I don't understand. Like his last name's not really Rechsteiner. Like what? It's just like, yeah, man, you must be a lot of fun. You must be a lot of fun to take to the movies or having a party.
See, that's even funnier now because I always thought it was funny just because, but now that I know that story behind it, because that is the worst thing. Like going to conventions and stuff. Like you being standing in line. And you've always got the asshole in front or behind you who's trying to impress everybody with his, knowledge of real names. And I remember we were eating breakfast one morning, and the lady's like, "So is Kane supposed to be here?" And he's like, "Well, Glenn's not going to get here until 10 o'clock." And he kept calling everybody by the real name, and then she'd go, "Who?" Because he was like, and then I'm gonna try to hook up with Larry around 11. She's like, "Who's Larry?" He's like, "Abdullah." I'm like, I'm sure Abdullah's mom, if she was alive, would not call him Larry at this point. Like, he's fucking Abdullah. Yeah. Abby at best. Like, come on, man. Like, when that dude said Glenn, I looked at my wife and was like, I've never wanted to punch somebody so bad in my life.
I don't know why. That's what I'm saying. So, like, this guy, the Rechsteiner thing, he's a nice guy, but it just made me so mad that he did. I was like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, and it's a combo, like that guy. So, it comes from like two things, I think. One, I need you to know what I know. And you'll see that. You probably see that in your comments all the time. Like, well, actually, Tony Falk debuted. Like, okay, fuck. All right.
Yeah. Like, and half the time they're wrong is what's crazy.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I said I used to. I don't respond now. Now, if anybody gets shitty, I just say thanks for watching. But and then they never comment back. But I used to say like, hey, everyone, this guy wants you to know he knows something. Hey, everyone, make sure you like and comment and heart, and all that. But that's just mean. So I stopped.
Make sure you watch his show because I'm sure he must have one with all this knowledge.
Yeah, I used to say, one guy was like, I forget. I commented something about it wasn't political at all because I don't get into because it's not the place for it. We're flooded with that shit every day. So I don't, and I whatever I said, I don't even remember. I don't even plug a lot of opinions into my show. I just, whatever. And this guy was like, I have a quick note for you. And I'm like, first of all, strike fucking 3. Cause like where's your channel, dude? Like, I didn't ask you for notes, Dad. And he's like, if we can tell your politics within the first 2 minutes, you're probably blah, blah, blah. I was like, first of all, what are you, I'm talking about like fake headlocks, man. Like, but the second thing, like with that Glenn guy is, people desperately want to be involved, right? It's like, if he is, I'm going to hook up with Larry, we're friends, like, it's like, they really just want to be part of the show, which is sad. Cause I bet you Larry would let he'd let you drive him to the airport if you try hard enough.
Oh yeah. It wouldn't take much. Wouldn't take much at all. Yeah, man. So yeah, I got a channel that I put old wrestling on and my podcast and all this. And there's not a day goes by that there isn't some pretentious dickhead in the comments, like, well, actually, I'm like, all right, dude, like, you're not like, nobody's impressed. Like,
no,
there's not some chick going like, oh my God,
oh my God, he knows about Chris Colt. Like, great, good for you.
Yeah, he sure does, don't he? A little uncomfortable amount about Chris Colt, it feels like. A little too much. That's funny though, the Rechsteiner guy, because it's like, wow, the most pretentious thing somebody could have said in a theater that day was about a wrestler's real name. But boy, it was.
Oh yeah, the Rechsteiners. Yeah.
Like, dude, you're too pretentious for a fucking theater. Calm down. So you've managed to track down and interview quite a few of these guys, but is there anybody that like you're holding out for? Like, man, if I could just get a hold of this dude and talk to him about this shit, it's kind of like the dream. Get
for the World Wrestling Empire guys. Yeah. So a handful of them have contacted me. And then you kind of pull the thread, right? It's like several of them have contacted me, but then I'm like, hey, do you like Jerry Silverado? He's one of their commentators. He didn't want to be interviewed and he only responded to one of my emails. It wasn't negative or anything, but it was mic drop. He was like, done. He was like, yep, that's it. That's how it was. He just told his little story and that was it. But, the guy who's really responsible for most of it, of the guys who are alive still, is Flamin' Raymond. He's like their big manager, but he was the booker for a long time, and he's really responsible for it. And I've talked to his cousin. His cousin is Bernard Funk of the famous Funk family. And I talked to Bernie. He was great. But Flamin' Raymond, he doesn't want anything to do with me. The Ledge, the other commentator, told me that Flamin' Raymond isn't exactly thrilled about the show, but moreover, he just said the past is in the past. And he doesn't want to revisit it. And so I respect that. I've never reached out to him or anything, but he's the one I would love to talk to.
You run into some of that. Like, somebody got me into, so like, like I said, we're 91 USWA. Somebody got me in touch with the Dirty White Girl, who was with Tony Anthony. And she's like, that's just in my past. I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
Like,
really?
Not even like a particular angle. She's like, nope.
Nothing. I talked to Melvin Penrod, Melvin the Nerd. Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
And, okay. Yeah. And he didn't want to be interviewed. We talked for about 4 hours. Yeah. And, I took notes and everything, and I have the full conversation. I mean, I told him, he let me record it just for notes purposes. But I told him I wouldn't play it or anything, that was really fun. I mean, time just flew by. We just talked about wrestling for about 4 hours.
That's crazy. Because I was just about to say that I was so proud that I managed to track him down the way that I did and got a hold of him. He's like, yeah, man, wrestling's in my past. I don't really want to do any podcasts or anything. He's like, but I'd be glad to tell you whatever you want to know. Here's my phone number. And so work was slow one day, and I called him, and he answered every question I had, and was it was a very interesting conversation. But did not want to do the show, and said he's put it all behind him. And
that's it. I told him in our conversation, I have a respect for that though. Like, I don't know, I would rather him, want to do an interview, but I have a respect for someone not just immediately being like, well, sure. Yeah. I'd love to be relevant for a second. Like, he is at least secure enough in his life that he's like, nah, I'll talk to you, but I'm not interested.
Yeah. You have to respect that to some degree. And I know a couple people have told me, like, if I ever crack that door open to wrestling and I come on a podcast and I get to talking, I get to reminiscing, I get to thinking about it too much. Next thing I know, I'm on a fucking indie show and BFE and like, it's like somebody gets like, just take a little bit of heroin, not much, just have a sip going. And the next thing you know, you're sucking dick behind the cafe or whatever. So I get it, fine. Don't talk to us, but
it is the thing.
Stories that you wish could be told,
Yeah, but that's true. I mean, I remember talking to John Thorne at AIW, like when I had my injury, he would contact me from time to time, and he understood, because he was like, I don't know how how you're going to be. Like, some of these guys, like, they retire or have an injury, whatever, and then like, they're back the next week on commentary, whatever, and it's like some people just have to be gone, and I'm more that type. I mean, this is my show is about as comfortable as I am, because like I just was I was doing a video shoot the other day, and it was with someone I know from wrestling, a good friend of mine, and he kind of mentioned, they mentioned like commentary or whatever, and I'm always like, hey, but like, no, I don't want to get back into that, because you're right. The next thing you know, it's like, well, we're gonna bring so and so in, and maybe you could be like their surprise, whatever. It's like the next thing you know, you're
buying somebody,
you're ordering
gear,
getting boots and stuff. It's
a slippery slope, man. It is a lot like drugs or alcohol or whatever addiction, because people get addicted to it. That reaction, like, I mean, that's why I do stand up now, because it scratches that itch, that performance itch. And just like when you have a bad match, if you go out there and bomb, or like you got that sick feeling, like, why did I do that? Why did I put myself through that? Why do I do this? I don't have to do this. I'm never doing this. By the time I get home, I'm like, damn, fuck this. I'm never doing this again. And then 2 days later, like, hey man, we got a show coming up in 2 weeks. You want to do it? Yeah, I'll be there.
Or even worse, you have a good night and you're like, I'm the rest of my life. I'm going to do this the rest of my life. It's amazing.
Yes.
I've always talked about how wrestling and stand-up are so similar, in the fact that, like, not only is everyone kind of a journeyman, you know what I mean? Like, you're just traveling around, but like, it's another business of like, I think Jeff Jarrett said that it's a business, wrestling's a business of, 1,000 acquaintances and very little friends. I mean, I think stand up is very similar where you're working with other people, you're, sometimes collaborating or whatever, or on some ways, but you're on your own and like, you're your own business, and it's a lonely business.
And none of those people are truly rooting for you because they feel like any success you have is taken away from the success they could have.
I noticed that when I had a little stint where I came back a couple years ago, people that were, when I was over and whatever, and because that's one thing I've always been fortunate. I've always found a way to get over every place I ever went, one way or the other. And some of the people that I thought I was close with, I realized like, oh, they're not happy for me to be here. Like they think a spot's going to get taken. And I was like, come on, I'm not interested in your spot. I'm just having a little fun. I have my career taken away from me, and now I want to just do it my way and end it the way I want to. And I don't care about your belt, dude. Like, I don't care. I got like a mortgage and kids. I don't give a fuck about your fake belt.
No doubt. But yeah, man, I love the show, and it's just fun, and I don't get any negative vibes from it. I don't really say anybody could get offended by it, and it's the one interview I was really hoping to get, because nobody at that point had talked to him, but somebody had tracked down Jumpin' Jeff Farmer, and he was doing a show in Mississippi, where I'm originally from. And this guy's like, hey man, if you come to the show, I'll make sure you get a chance to interview him. I was like, fuck yeah, because nobody had interviewed him then. Nobody even knew he was still alive. He fell off the face of the freaking earth. And then I wasn't able to get off work to make the trip. And then the guy never could, get me hooked up with him. And then I seen where like Gregory Iron had interviewed him, and he did it like, I guess a couple of interviews or something. And I was like, well, it's happened now. And it didn't really live up to the hype anybody had for it, I guess. But that's the classic one though, right? That promo. I mean, you've even got who's the comedian that did the parody of
Tim
it?
Robinson.
Tim Robinson did a tremendous parody of it, So that's like when you mention like comedy, wrestling and comedy, that's like a lot of people's go-tos. Like, oh, you mean like Jumpin' Jeff Farmer? Like, yeah, I like that. It's funny though, it's like I know Motley Crue pretty well. And to this day,
he's a good worker.
Dude, he gets hot if anybody brings that shit up. He hates it.
I can see that.
He gets mad. Like,
because he's a good worker. He seems good.
Like, he'll say something. Somebody go, "Yep," and he'll be like, "Motherfucker, I'll kill you."
So I'm actually surprised that he didn't try to make money off of it somehow. Right? I mean, like
roll with it, dude. Like, nobody's judging you. That was how many years ago, and you did so much stuff after that. Like, God damn, there's a tape of you wrestling Ric Flair, in St. Louis at the damn what do you call it? The hell, I'm blanking out the name of that hotel they wrestled at there. The Chase Hotel.
Wrestling at the Chase. Just do the rematch. Like, I want to let's just have it. Like, just go for it. Make that money, man.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I don't know. It's like those people who got famous on TV shows and they got mad because, that dude that played Horseshack would get pissed if somebody come up and wanted his autograph and was like,
dude, you're fucking Horseshack. I just think you should be so lucky. Like, it's like one of those things where it's like you hear like an actor like, I don't want to play Spider-Man anymore. I'm like, what the hell's wrong? Like, play Spider-Man until they kick you out. Like, they would have to rip me off the set. Like, what are you talking about? Like, you struck gold. You're Spider-Man. Like, come on.
Like, there's so many people in the world just dream to have that one thing, and then you hear them on shows like, oh, these people still got me, pigeonholed into being
more than that,
or whatever. I'm like, maybe you're not more than that. Maybe God only gave you one thing, and now you're wasting it because you don't want to admit man. I'd be at every convention.
You're just Horseshack, motherfucker. It's fine.
Well, I'd be at every convention just pimping that shit out as long as I can. Like,
I was just at my oldest, she does a lot of cosplay and conventions and stuff like that, and she spends a lot of time working on that, and she had to sell a ticket to some convention. She couldn't go, so I bought it from her, and I went I forget. I was getting Aqua Teen Hunger Force. I was getting their autographs. I had a couple of them. I needed a couple of them. But Thomas Lennon, the guy who played Dangle on Reno 911, was there in his full regalia, the white cowboy boots, the short, like, yes, nice. Come on. He had the biggest line. Weird Al Yankovic had the biggest line, and Deputy Dangle had the second biggest line. Like, everybody wanted a picture with this guy.
Hell yeah. That's the way to do it, man. Aqua Teen Hunger Force. That's, man, I feel like I've connected with you on so many levels here in this interview, man. I liked you on the show, but now I feel like I really have a lot of the same. Who would have thought you'd had this many things in common with a redneck from Alabama? Yeah. But here we are.
Well, you know? That's a great point. Yeah, I just feel like that's, I don't know how you treated it, but like at an intermission at a wrestling show, you play around with kids if I was a bad guy, whatever. Yeah. But like, I was always just me, and I was just happy to see everybody. And I think that like people remember that comes through, and it wasn't bullshit. It was just, I just decided to be genuine. And I think that with the show, like sometimes I'll be like, oh, no one's going to get that. I shouldn't put that. I'm like, listen, someone's going to get, Gene's going to get it. And I'm going to put that in there. And then Gene's going to be like, oh shit. Oh man, that guy watches Aqua Teen too. Okay, that's awesome. Yeah. And it's less about like, oh, now I got another viewer, and more about like, we connected. That's fun.
Yeah. And then I send it to another friend of mine, like, hey, dude, check this clip out right here. And then they start binging your stuff. And I mean, that's how you really build an audience, and these things build is just sharing it. Like, you can promote, you can, do all the ads you want and all that horse shit, but like, people seeing it, enjoying it, and then sharing it with other people they know enjoy it, who shares it and then next thing you know, man, you got something going like what you've got now. And I think it's tremendous, dude. Like, keep doing what you're doing, and hopefully, like I said, I'll hear down the line, I'd like to have you back on, do a whole show about Magnum CK, and kind of, I think everybody should see Magnum's opus if they haven't yet. Man, that was so well put together. I mean, I told you that in the message that, I'm not ashamed to admit, I was pretty choked up at the end, man, by the time it got to the speech, because it told your story so well. And, you felt like you went along for that ride. And then I felt disappointed, when you found out you're injured and you can't continue. And just a really well done. So folks, if you haven't, it's on Kit's channel. Go check it out. It's free on YouTube. You don't have to pay anything if you're worried about that. But it is worth subscribing and getting the members only videos on there, because he does tell a lot of great stories from your time in the ring and around the ring and around your uncle and everything. So I do highly recommend folks check that out. So
yeah, I really appreciate it. I don't think anyone's as busy as you are with all this stuff. I mean,
that's what they say. They're like, geez, dude, how many more podcasts are you going to add? And I'm like, no more. More.
That reminds me, when we're done, I got a couple ideas for some podcasts. Maybe.
Okay, well, get ready for me and Kit's new podcast. We'll be reviewing. I don't even know anything.
We got Chris Colt podcast.
Yeah, I was about to say, I don't know anything odder than the stuff we've talked about already. And I'm already doing a Power Pro podcast. To the chagrin of Randy Hales. I don't like y'all talk about my baby like that. Sorry, Randy.
Well, you should be happy people are still talking about it. I love it. Power Pro is a treasure trove. I love every episode.
We were going one by one. The timing fell to where we started on April 18th, 2026, watching the April 18th, 1998 debut episode. No. So the dates and the episode numbers following along the entire run. As long as we don't fuck up and miss one, nobody gets sick, and we miss a week, we're going to line up all the way through. But it's held around from 98 to 2001. So that's what I told the guys that wanted to be co-hosts. I'm like, well, you're locking in for the long haul, guys. We're going to do this whole damn thing. And
we're doing all
warning, it gets pretty rough at a certain
It doesn't get better. It doesn't get better as it goes.
There's going to be times you're going to want to jump off the ship. And no, we're gonna ride this thing to the bitter end. They're down. They say they're down for it. We're gonna find out just how down they really are.
We'll see. We'll see who the real friends are. Yeah.
My buddy Richard bailed after the '93 USWA did him in. He left, and we had to replace him. And he went through like this whole. He had like a whole like he had. It wasn't because of that, but he had like kind of almost like a mental break there for a little while.
Oh my God.
And jokingly, I say it's because of USWA 93. It wasn't, but weird timing.
Well, listen, it couldn't have helped. It didn't help.
Well, it didn't help. And then he opened for John Reap there in Jackson, Tennessee. And he was putting on like his resume, like, hey, I've opened for this pound. I opened for John Reap. And then one day, our mutual friend, well, his best friend, Josh, took much joy in forwarding him a news report. Oh. John Reap arrested for child porn.
Perfect.
And he's like, what? So he didn't do him much good.
Just change it to change it to Gallagher 2 or something. Say you open for Gallagher 2, no one's gonna know the difference.
Just find some other redheaded comedian to say you opened for. But he moved past it. I went and did a comedy show for him here a few weeks ago in Jackson, and he actually made a bit about it, and he killed. He did great. Good. And
good.
He insisted that I close the show, and I told him after he got off stage, like, dude, you should have closed the show. I know I got to follow this shit. Like, that John Reap stuff was killer, dude. I was like, it was all real. That's what's funny is people thought it was all just, stand up. Like every bit of what he said was true.
That's one thing. The parallels between wrestling and stand up. I was on a double shot, same day, same building in Huntington, West Virginia. Tracy Smothers was the main event, and after the first show, they said, come on back, everybody. We had a little break, and then we came back, come back. Tracy wants to talk to everyone, talk to the locker room. So we all gather around. He's like, guys, y'all are doing too many moves. There was a pile driver in the first match. By the time I got to the main event, only move I had left was this.
By God, he did it.
Oh, yeah. It was probably more over than the pile driver.
Hell yeah. I got to do commentary with Tracy on a death match tournament in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. And you know how them death matches are. There's 20, 30 minutes worth of setup in between every match to get all the barbed wire and horse shit.
Yeah.
So I got to sit there and call matches with him in between, got to pick his brain and hear stories. Yeah. Because it was like 4.5 hours long. But like one of the greatest nights ever, just getting to pick Tracy's brain and hear his stories. It's such a funny guy, man.
Yeah, he was one of the first guys I'd watched my debut show, Dusty Rhodes and Jeff Jarrett were on it, but I very briefly talked to them. But I was in Nitro, West Virginia, and I was backstage, and I just happened to be whatever the lull in the show was or whatever. I was just sitting there with Tracy, and we just I didn't want to say anything, I was nervous, and I was 18, and he made eye contact, so I was like, hello, Mr. Smothers. And he's like, oh, God dang kid, Tracy, and we just sat there and talked for half an hour. It's just same deal. He would tell you any story you wanted to hear.
Yeah. And a couple you probably didn't, but you heard them anyway, and you'll never forget them. All right, man. Well, we may not start a whole podcast series, but we'll have to collaborate on something fun one of these days.
Absolutely.
I'm going to send you a clip of, one of those shows where me and Tim's doing the commentary over some of that awful wrestling. So
Please do.
Think about it.
Yeah, I would love to come back any old time or anything.
Awesome.
Absolute pleasure talking to you. I'd love to do it anytime.
Well, me too, man. Thank you so much for doing it. And sorry I took so much of your time. I planned it for be an hour, but man, time flies when you're having fun, right?
Yeah, some of us like to talk, and you get two of them together, and
there you go. Hey, before we go though, for people who aren't aware, tell everybody how to find your channel and all the details.
All you have to do on YouTube is That's What I Call Wrestling. I think if you do, it's at What I Call Wrestling on YouTube. I don't really do a lot of other social media stuff, but if you type that in, it's probably going to pop up.
Yeah, and I'll have it in the description. You'll be able to just click on it and go right there. And if you want to comment, tell Kit that you found it via Retro Wrestling with Gene Jackson, and he'll know what kind of person you are.
Yeah, and then I'll delete the comment and block you from the comments never again.
Exactly. Get on there and say, hey, actually, I think that guy's name is Joe Rexsteiner. Yeah. And then it'll just
there's not that many Rexsteiners, right?
Oh man, I love that I now know the story behind that. I'm going to laugh even more when I see those pop up now. So, all right, thanks, Kit.
I appreciate it, man.
Coming up on Live from the Archive, Arc of an Angle, we're starting this week, Eric Embry versus Skandar Akbar and his arm in the battle for control of World Class. Look, here's the overview of what's going on and why you need to come watch this thing. When Jerry Jarrett bought a financially gutted WCW from the Von Erichs in October of 1988, he installed Eric Embry as the booker, right in this building that you see behind me. Matter of fact, right in one of these rings. Embry was living in the Sportatorium at the time and booked himself as the babyface and the heart of the territory. And he did that to go against General Skandar Akbar's Devastation Incorporated stable. You're going to see Cactus Jack Manson, Gary Young, Iceman Parsons, Buddy Roberts, the Super Black Ninja, who went on to be the Great Muta, the Samoan SWAT team, P.Y. Chuhai, Taurus Bulba, and others involved in this. There were contract swerves, baseball bat attacks, loser leave town matches all over the place. Percy Pringle does a write-in campaign. You all know Percy as Paul Bearer. And on August 4th, 1989, we have the payoff. This thing started in October and worked its way all the way to August of 1989. October, I believe it was 15th, 1988 to August 4th of 1989. I was lucky enough to be in the crowd for a lot of these Friday nights. We're going to break it down for you on the Arc of an Angle. Come check it out. This is how Eric Embry booked the USWA versus World Class.
Tired of the same boring wrestling podcast? Need something with attitude, chaos, and maybe just a little cussing? That's stspod.club, and we got it all covered. We got wrestling weirdness with WTF News Desk, 5-minute time limit, and the Southern Fried Brain of me, BT, steering the whole ship. We also have rolling into Memphis every week about the current Memphis wrestling. Interviews, hot takes, and wrestling outrageousness so wild it might get you banned in 12 states. That's right, it's SDSpod.club or search all podcast catchers for Shooting the Shiznit, where wrestling podcasts grow chest hair. Not sure what that meant. Love my mama.
Got a stack of VHS tapes, dusty old newsletters, plastic men in tiny capes, playing old video games. His basement a shrine to the past, the wrestling's glory.